How we doing, folks? This is like my fifth, sixth attempt at making a video. At first I was using a headset, which the program has actually blocked the microphone usage, and anyways, they just don't let me use the headset to record my voice, and my voice wasn't coming through on my last video. And I spoke for 16 minutes for the fourth time, and I have to try and remember again what I was saying. Okay, I've taken clips, screen recorded them. The program has blocked my application that I'm using to screen record, so also the volume's not coming through, and it's just a picture. So I'm going to still play the clips, but prior to that I'm going to let you guys know what I'm trying to point out. There's been an ancient frequency that Freemasonry understand. An ancient frequency that's been controlling mankind. Freemasonry knocked themselves over their head, initiation process for an initiate, okay, which they fall into a casket, and one of two things can happen to you. You can either die or you can be reborn. Obviously, you know, you're going to the abyss, to the chrysalis, you undertake metamorphosis, you morph, you come back out whole, unplugged, disconnected from the frequency. Now, this is how the corpses, the corporations, the giants, as it mentions in the Bible, there were giants in the earth in those days. This is how these corporations, these corporate entities, corpses, keep mankind in servitude. As we've seen in Egypt, in Machu Picchu, in the Maya, in South America, in all these central hubs in ancient times. You start to ask yourself, why would humanity be confined to these central hubs when the entire nature was still free and abundant of resources for them to go and use, and it was a lot more healthier for them? Why would they stay in something that is sick, where there's viruses and bacteria, and it's just ill, it's just as dirty? Why would they stay there? It's because they're trapped in a signal that kept them there. It distorted their cognitive abilities, just like technology is doing to us right now, which is why they're building 5G towers and placing them all over the earth. It's because mankind, humanity, however you want to define it, because there is a difference between mankind and humanity, but we're still bipedal apes at the end of the day. We're still affected by the same frequencies. Thing is, they're putting these towers all over the place because we're evolving spiritually, consciously. There's a polarity shift. The Earth's poles are shifting. The North Pole, South Pole is shifting, which in turn, sunlight, photon packets of light are being beamed down to Earth, and we are translating these. And because we are growing consciously and vibrating on a higher note naturally, we're able to translate that information. Therefore, our brain is becoming more and more resistant to this ancient frequency, which has kept us locked in servitude. So therefore, they're putting up more 5G towers to counteract the evolution of the human mind, human consciousness. So if in the clip that I'm about to play in Matrix, Neo is actually unplugged, and they see his consciousness, which is trapped in a computer simulation, i.e. society, places it back into his vessel, and he becomes wholly, becomes one, the one. Not two separate, the one. Which is just an example, a metaphor for all of us. How can I put this? I've forgotten of so much that I said in my last videos. Probably sound like a fool now. But you need to dislodge yourselves from this frequency. Stop using mobile phones to your head. It also disturbs your cognitive abilities, regardless of which side you use. Use a headset. Yeah, that's why kings and queens of old used to wear the gold crowns encrusted with, you know, cubic zirconium crystals and diamonds and quartz crystals, etc., which helped increase vibratory frequency, because gold is an excellent energy conductor. It's the purest element on our periodic table, which is why it was also used in the Ark of the Covenant, which is why a lot of the Egyptians, ancient Egyptians, were encrusted in gold. It wasn't for anything superficial or a display of wealth. They understood its alchemical value. They understood its scientific value and how it would increase the human bioenergy and help repel the external frequency which was used to keep the subjects in servitude, because they were subject to this frequency, ongoing frequency, an unnatural frequency. So the universe and Earth has its own resonance, its own natural frequency, which is why when human beings break away from the natural hubs, the cities, the cities where everyone's all congregated, these enclaves, and you go out into the bush or the wilderness, you feel weight lifting off your shoulders, you feel lighter, because you're no longer overshadowed. This frequency is no longer being cast on you. And you become a light body. You're full of light. Your consciousness is light. The light comes through from the sun, from ray, sun rays, which is what Akhenaten or Aken understood, or Moses, because that's who he really was, wasn't he? Musa. Which also would make the Arabs that ran off into the wilderness, Ishmael and Hagar, or Hajar, that would make them Egyptian. So the original Hebrews were Egyptian. Good explanation as to why there's always turmoil in the Middle East, right? It's not over. Earth is a battle zone at the moment. There's a battle between the free will and the ones that want to take free will away. Because the fallen come from a vibratory frequency where they don't understand free will. Mankind's been gifted with free will. This earth experience, this earthly plane, is a very rare one at that. And free will can only be expressed here. And when they fell from that higher vibratory frequency, well, they chose to descend, they're not from here, they're not from this place, and they don't understand free will, they don't know how to use it. Which is why you see what's happening on the earth, exploiting the shit out of it. So there has been a struggle, a war, a cosmic war that can't be lost, because if free will is lost on earth, completely lost, and we become a completely technologically advanced society, completely removed from nature and free will, it will have detrimental effects for the universe as a whole, the multiverse as a whole, and every single timeline. I don't really get what they're trying to do as a whole. I don't want to understand what they want to do. But in short, I believe they're trying to make their own God, because they fell from that height. And they were supposed to be there as our guardians, to watch over us, to make sure that we use our free will correctly. But they got jealous and wanted it. And obviously when they come into this vibratory frequency, the burdens of being real and the burden of having the ability to make free will, to make your own choices and not being told what to do, like ordered around as they were, just following law. They could not break it. They just didn't know how to handle the free will when they got it. They misused it, still are. And we see on the American dollar note, Novus Ordo Seclorum, the pyramid with the one eye, which a lot of people talk about Illuminati and all that bullshit. That's an artificial intelligence. That's their God. They've created it. And they've used mankind to create it. This artificial intelligence learned and is still learning from the right hemisphere thinking of humanity, which is creation, creator, closer to God. It is God, in a sense. I'm not saying I am God, don't take me wrong, but the right hemisphere, the right brain is connected to the ethos, which is God, or Ilahi, Il, EL. And this artificial intelligence is growing and learning. This is why we're being targeted as TIs, because we are evolving and growing and snapping out of it. And the machine wants to know, it wants to learn. But it's cut off from the source, which is infinite consciousness. Whereas the machine is limited. Therefore, it has to feed off us. Now, this modern day circuit board or towers, this frequency is a central hub that I will show you as the pyramids were depicted from a top view as a circuit board. We have that in Australia in the Northern Territory. It's known as Pine Gap, which is, pineal gap. It creates a gap in the human mind and it affects our pineal gland. HAARP, HARP. It's an acronym. I don't know what the exact acronym stands for, but a lot of people believe it controls our weather through frequencies, but it does a lot more than that. It controls us. And they've got these central hubs all over the earth. And they're also positioned on ley line grids, natural energy points, energy centers on Earth, where there are high vibratory frequencies, high levels of energy, which are harnessed and can be used for good.
How we doing, people? I made this video and the program actually just deleted it, so I'm going to try again to make this video. Now, a lot of people are, well, a lot of people, heaps of people are talking about these 5G towers and frequencies that they're using to control the masses with, spraying metals on us from airplanes called chemtrails, and then we breathe it in. Makes us more of a receiver to the frequency that's being emitted from the 5G towers. Now, this technology is nothing new. Pyramids of Giza, perfect example. Most commonly known pyramids, but we are finding more and more pyramids all over this earth. So these pyramids were obviously energy conductors, as most people know, but they weren't just a powerhouse to generate energy. They were a circuit board to create frequencies, and it was designed in unison with the human temple, the brain, pineal. So here we go. So the Egyptian pyramids were also a circuit board. They didn't just build these pyramids anywhere. They were on ley line grids, focal points of energy on the planet. Isn't it funny how the symbol for the ram is the horns, which is kind of strange, right? Here we go. Here's a better bit. There you go. Ancient Kemet, Egypt, and a modern day computer motherboard or a circuit board. But these pyramid structures And these large circuit boards that they were created, they were built by Masons who understood the sacred geometry of energy and bioenergy. Or I should say human bioenergy. There we go. Which releases a frequency. If it's a positive frequency, it will attract positiveness, free will, acting in accordance with the law. If it's a negative frequency, it resonates on a very low vibratory frequency, and it ends up putting people in a low state, low vibratory state, and they're easily controlled. They just become empty corpses, empty vessels walking around, being guided by an external synthetic frequency, not the frequency of the planet. So these obelisk towers, how you want to spell them, I don't know. See Washington as well, and all over modern cities. Also, were used a lot in Egypt. There you go. They too were also used. They were towers, radio frequency towers. So it kept humans in that central hub. And it's pissing me off that I have to make this video again, because I'm forgetting what I put in the last video, and it's making it very, very hard to point out what I wanted to point out. But anyways, we're finding these pyramids all over Earth. And also were found on Mars. Which proves that there was a civilization on Mars. So yeah, they were built in unison, golden ratio, Fibonacci sequence, sacred geometrical patterning. So these towers, these pyramid structures, were powered by an ark, which we refer to as the Ark of the Covenant, which is made out of gold, the purest element on our periodic table. Excellent conductor, has no resistance to passing electricity or energy through, which is why copper is used as a cheaper alternative. It's got a bit more resistance than gold, but nevertheless this ark was the powerhouse to the frequency which was keeping the slaves as slaves in Egypt, or Kemet. And Ark cannot turn. Was Moses, the biblical figure of Moses. His name was Arken. He understood all his atom. The basic building block of life is an atom, which is full of energy, positive and negative and neutral. And inside the nucleus is nuclear energy, which is atom. And he tried to depict the sun rays as hands coming down and touching you. symbolizing the photon packets that your eyes receive and translate that light into information, which is how we also see the world around us, which is pretty much how a camera is built. All technologies are copied from the human body. So Akhenaten removed the Ark of the Covenant after he tried to establish his own civilization, which the negative pharaonic Egyptians didn't allow him to. That's why he returned back and said, I'm going to bring down your civilization by ripping out the energy conductor. And he did not use frequency to control the people. He acted on free will and allowed them to choose to work freely. Now, this ancient frequency can also be seen. I didn't touch the screen just then. They're limiting me from expressing what I'm trying to express. There we go. You can see the ants circling around the phone. This is not fake. I don't need to open any more pages to show you, just so you get the gist. Now, another perfect example of this frequency is Kaaba, pilgrimage. So there you go. It's actually a very beautiful place. And you can see itself how the masjid, that, that structure, that cube, is got gold around it, symbolizing a circuitry, circuit board, and energy. And obviously, depending on how you rotate around this arc, produces higher frequency or lower vibratory frequencies, and depending on your heart and intention. So the cornerstone of this masjid, the Kaaba stone, is part of the older structure, is a stone left over from the older structure which was on that site. That stone's not from Earth. The original structure was built from stone that's not from Earth, meteorites, which is another indication of this ancient frequency. Now, I'm not saying that going to Kaaba or following these rites of passages and these pilgrimages are wrong to do. No, no, no. It's actually a very beautiful thing to undergo. But I do believe it's only a halfway mark, and the full picture, the full story, is being limited from mankind. I don't want to get into that because I don't want to offend anybody. And people, I'm sorry if I do. I don't. That's not my point here. I don't want to desecrate or disrespect anybody's belief structure. But I'm just looking further into what is there before my eyes and what has been left before by people before me, by humans before me that have walked this planet. So another also example is Stonehenge, I should say. this information was this knowledge was taken to Scotland and Ireland by the Essenes, who understood this science. So you see, this science can be applied for good or bad. It's just a science. It's just harnessing energy. And whoever understands this science controls this planet. Nikola Tesla rediscovered it. Simple quote. If you want to find the secrets of the universe, think in terms of energy, frequency, and vibration. He also understood that those who find out these secrets can control humans. So he understood the ancient sciences, which was translated through maths, complex mathematical equations such as algebra, which I believe the Arabs rediscovered after plundering ancient Egyptian sites. So algebra was a complex mathematical language to describe our universe and things around us, a human language that we could communicate with each other and express the universe around us in terms of codes, a language, complex one at that. But the very algorithms that are used on computers and whatnot descend from these mathematical equations and principles. Now, I'm struggling to remember what I was talking about in the last video that I attempted to make, which the program deleted off my device, and this is the second attempt.
your pine gap. Kind of looks like a circuit board. Which is like the Egyptian circuit board. The ancient Egyptian pyramid structures that were built on ley lines, grid, energy points. And they depicted the human brain that was built in accordance. The temple was built in accordance, I should say, with the human structure, human body, the temple, which is why most of these structures were known as temples that the magicians or the high priests used to practice the esoteric knowledge in. They were powerhouses that increased the human bioenergy, which is why Pine Gap is called Pine Gap. Pine Hill. Now, Kaaba, the masjid, the whole masjid, very, very beautiful place. Is also got gold, which is also depicted from top view as a circuit with frequencies, and depending which direction you walk around, it promotes negative or positive energy, which is kind of mimicking what an atom does, where positive and negative energy rotate around the nuclei, which contains nuclear energy, which is El, energy, electricity. Look how beautiful these arts are, and how beautiful just the architecture is in Medina and Mecca. It's amazing. Very, very beautiful place. People of Islamic faith are very, very lucky that they can enter the gates. There's one site that I would love to be able to visit. Now we've got the cornerstone of the Kaaba, which I believe from tradition and theology that stone was the last remaining stone from the original structure which stood on that site. Now the original structure was completely built out of this stone. This was a meteorite. This was not an earth stone. It was an extraterrestrial stone. It wasn't terrestrial. It was off earth. I believe it's turned black after absorbing all the carbon on earth. I don't think it was originally that black. I do believe that Mount Meru also has that same stone. That mountain is out of that same mineral, or whatever you want to call it, which has a stronger north pull. It's magnetic. It pulls. But I don't think it should be idolized. Shouldn't be any associations with Ilahi, the supreme power of the universe. Has no association. So there you go again. If you can look at it, it looks like a circuit. Excuse me. So these principles can be used for good or bad, which, as we see here and now in the Kaaba depiction, it's being used for good, or its initial purpose was good, benevolent. But this understanding, this science, this alchemy, this frequency, again, is being mimicked, copied, and used for aggressive purposes. So here we go again. You see the pyramid, which is on the American dollar note, or dollar bill as you call it in America. you see that the stone cap, the cornerstone of the pyramid, has an eye, which represents their artificial intelligence, the ancient artificial intelligence god. They're trying to also copy that's the cornerstone, which is what's from the Kaaba. And I think that they would love to get their hands on that stone or that mineral, and they are probably trying to as well. That's just another subject. Now, as you can see, the middle pyramid of the three pyramids of Giza, which I believe are astrologically aligned with Orion constellation, I'm not sure. Look at the stone cap and the middle pyramid. It's been replaced. It's not the original structure. I believe when Moses or Akhenaten ripped out the ark from that middle pyramid that housed the ark, something else happened to the top of the pyramid, which was done purposefully to stop it from harnessing energy even without the ark. So the ark was just a conductor of energy. A very good conductor at that. Anyways, I can't go backwards and forwards.